Well, hey there, everyone. This is Dave Dubeau with this week's episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. As you can see, I'm in different digs this week. I'm actually, as we're filming this, I'm in Toronto, and it's the day after the Raptors winning the NBA championship. So, yeah, we're pretty stoked. The town's pretty stoked up about that. And with me on today's call, I have a real estate living legend and a good friend, a very sharp gentleman, Mr. Ted Thomas. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm just great. Good to hear from you.
Likewise. And if you're not familiar with Ted, Ted has been doing real estate for quite some time, and he is, in my humble opinion, the world's leading authority when it comes to investing in tax defaulted property. So that's what we're going to be touching on today in the conversation. And Ted, why don't you get us started by just kind of giving us a brief overview of your background when it comes to real estate investing?
Okay, well, first of all, I started out as a pilot, and I flew for the airlines for a while, flew for Aloha Airlines in Honolulu. But when I found out how much money I could make in real estate, that got my attention. So I actually left the islands, and I started in California raising money and buying apartment properties. Smallest one I ever bought was 50 units. And then we went to 300 units, 250, and so on. And that business was great until about 1986. And then we had a huge recession in the States, and markets crashed. And I went from having a private jet and living in the country club. So I lived right across from the clubhouse in the country club. I went from the clubhouse to the outhouse in 1 year. And so I learned a lot about foreclosure real estate and how tough it really could be. So that was my start. And then from there, I became an expert in distressed property, not the good way, but by losing $200 million worth of property, going all the way to the bottom. But I learned all the mistakes my attorneys made and whatever. And that created a whole new career for me. So that I went on from there to actually writing a book that became a bestseller. I invented the way to buy real estate with direct mail and that kind of thing. And so I've been at it ever since. And so here we are today.
Awesome, Ted. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Now, your main focus these days is on tax defaulted properties,
right?
Tax liens, tax deeds. For folks who aren't familiar with those, can you just give us a big 30,000 foot perspective on what's a tax lien and what's a tax deed?
Okay, good. First of all, it's a very profitable business, mostly because 99% of all of North America doesn't understand it. Whether you're in the provinces or whether in Singapore, they don't get it. So you'll get it after 1 minute right now. Every property in the United States has a tax, okay? It's original wealth tax that came from England, like all the rest of the stuff that we have. All right, so the original wealth tax became a property tax, okay? Lots of people don't pay their property tax, but about 3 million homes or properties in the United States will go to tax defaulted auction every year. I said 3 million. All right, so that's about 3% of all the property. So a property tax is, what they'll do is they'll issue a piece of paper. Think of a piece of paper that came out of your computer, out of that printer. All right, that's a tax certificate. Those tax certificates in the United States, if you buy one and pay someone's tax, you can earn 18, 24, or 36% on that. So it's an investment. All right, now the other half of it is, half of the states actually sell a tax defaulted property. That's called a tax deed. All right, those properties are properties people didn't pay the tax, and the local government went out and confiscated the property. They just took the property away from them, and then they re-auction it. They get rid of it because they don't want any more property. The government's got enough property. And they start those properties, starting bid usually is 10 to 20 cents on the dollar. So if you're a conservative investor, you want to buy tax liens and tax certificates, okay? If you're entrepreneurial, you want to buy those tax defaulted properties. And I created materials on how to teach people how to do that about 30 years ago. And I've now become pretty much known around the world. I teach this in the UK, I teach it in Australia, I teach it in Bangkok, wherever it might be, almost all the provinces of Canada. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in British Columbia and Alberta and Ontario teaching this same subject.
So when it comes to tax liens, tax deeds, thank you very much for the big picture overview. Maybe just kind of flesh out a little bit more about why the tax liens make sense for conservative investors and why the tax deeds are more entrepreneurial.
Good question. Okay. So I do business with a lot of seniors. You probably can tell I got a little gray hair here. And so seniors are attracted to me because I can show them, well, let's just use Florida as the example. In Florida, in 2018 and 2019, each year, they had at least 1 million property owners default on their taxes. 1 million. So that means
1 out of the 3 million in the States are all in Florida.
yeah. Well, no, tax certificates now. I was talking about 3 million defaulted properties. Okay, so 1 million tax certificates were issued. So you can buy a certificate. Now, all you do to buy one is say, I want to buy that. And you pay the tax. The tax on average house in Florida is about $1,500 a year, sometimes less. Okay, so you buy that certificate. They give you the certificate. You take it home. Now, you can't invest with me. You can't buy these from me. You invest with the government. You get a check back from the government. And the property is the security. So when you buy the certificate, the government guarantees the rate. In Florida, it's all the way up to 18%. Now, the banks, I don't know whether you want to use TD Bank, you want to use Bank of Montreal, whatever. Those banks are paying like 1% and less. On a Florida certificate, you can earn up to 18%. If you went to Iowa, you could earn 24%. If you went to Texas, 25%. So you'd want to buy that certificate because you get a nice rate of return. That's guaranteed rate of return. Now listen to this. If the property owner does not pay you on that certificate, you get the property without a mortgage. Whoa. You get the property without a mortgage. So that's a tax certificate. Now, a tax defaulted property, of which there'll be about 3 million every year, those people don't pay their tax. So the government actually, the local government, now this is a county government. We have counties as against municipalities. So we have a county government. If the county government does not get paid, they confiscate the property, but they don't want it. So they put it back in the market and they'll sell it, starting bid, the back taxes.
So in other words, in those cases, if somebody owes, let's say, probably a year or 2 or 3 of back taxes, the local county confiscates the property, puts it up for sale. And the starting bid is whatever the back taxes were. Is that
right? Right.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few of these. I mean, there's many, like you're in Ontario right now. Well, all through the state of New York, they're having auctions right now, June, July, and August. There'll be places within 100 miles of New York City with 250 of these properties to sell. Within 100 miles of New York City. It's amazing. And all of the states will have property tax auctions every single year.
So why isn't everybody buying these all day long?
The challenge is this. Because we work under an antiquated system, the county will only, and I'm going to walk towards you, but I'm just going to walk towards you to get a brochure. I have a desk in front of me. So I'm just walking towards you. I'm going to pick up a brochure. Okay, this brochure, which I'm going to hold up and you'll be able to read, okay, that brochure is for a county that's only an hour and a half from New York City. And you can't see the top of it, that there's 235 properties they're auctioning right now. And every one of those properties is listed in this brochure. Every one, you can see the picture of it and everything. Starting bid, the back taxes. Every single county in the United States will have those kind of auctions. And there's 3,000 counties, and there's another 1,750 municipalities. All right, here's the problem. This county, and I'm going to show you the brochure again. You can see what county it is. It's Dutchess County. This is an auction company down here, but this county only advertises in that county. So you could be living in New York City where there's 8 or 10 million people, and you wouldn't even know this auction was taking place. If you were in the county immediately adjacent, you wouldn't know it was taking place. I'm the only one that I have a database with every one of these counties that I've got on a thumb drive, believe it or not.
Wow. So it's basically because it's very fractured, it's very scattered.
Exactly.
Nobody knows when all the different auctions are happening. Okay.
Right.
That makes sense. Now, Ted, why a lot of our listeners are Canadian, so they're probably going, well, why don't I just do this, or can I do this in Canada? Can I go buy tax liens, tax deeds in Canada?
Well, first of all, you could actually buy tax liens in parts of Canada, but the challenge is this. To my knowledge, unless they changed it in the last year since I've been teaching there, I'm going to tell you the highest rate I've ever seen in all of Canada is 3%.
Wow.
So why would you want to get involved in 3% when in Florida you can make 18, Iowa can make 24. In Chicago, Illinois, tax certificates pay 3% a month. Wow. That's 36% a year. So my Canadian clients, and I have hundreds of them, all buy in the States.
I don't know why anybody buys tax liens or deeds in Canada.
Nobody would.
Doesn't make sense.
That makes sense.
All right. So, Ted, a lot of Canadians would say, well, that sounds great, but I live in Kamloops, British Columbia. I don't want to be getting on a plane and flying to
Right.
who knows where, New York City, to be doing this. Is it possible to, well, I know it is, but explain to us, how do people
Yeah.
do this from afar? How are your clients able to do this from, because you got clients actually in Singapore buying
Right.
American tax liens.
Right. I have clients all over the English-speaking world buying here in Florida and all over the States. I teach my Canadian clients, just let us give you some exposure to it, and we'll put you online to do this. People can say, oh, but I don't want to use a computer. We can show them how to use the computer and buy it. I have clients all over British Columbia, all over Alberta, and all over Ontario already doing this now. And I'm talking about people that are making six-figure incomes doing this business in the States.
Okay, so but basically, just give us the gist of how they do it online.
All they have to do online is this particular auction. Okay, once you know when the auction is, they will put this brochure. Now, this brochure that I'm showing you right now, I took it to a printer to print it. It came up online. I got this online, and I just took it over and printed it so I could show it to someone like you. Because if I show you all this paper, it looks like a big mess, but it's a brochure. And so online, it comes as a brochure, and you can look up every property number. You can sit at your desk right now, and you can look at every property number in the United States. Like you have a social number, well, every property has the same thing. So they can do that. So they can look online, and they can actually talk to the county treasurers online here in the States.
And then when the auction comes up, there's some way to bid online if they want to as well.
They'll actually put a picture up there online. You'll see the picture, and you'll hear the bidding in the room, and you can bid in the room, or you can just bid online, but you'll hear both, and you'll see both going on. They'll say, all right, those are bids in the room. Do we have something online? And you get it online. You can go to a company called Bid for Assets, and they'll give you free classes just like we do. Bid for Assets.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So, Ted, if somebody's watching this, say, well, it sounds pretty interesting, but I'm into doing, my main bread and butter is I'm buying and holding properties locally, or I'm doing flips locally or whatever, and I'm happy with that. How would this fit in with somebody's current real estate investing business? Or how do you see this fitting in with people?
Okay, this, whatever you're doing, and you're doing it already, keep doing it because you're already making money. So you don't want to change anything. All right, but slowly start learning how to do this. The beauty of this business, and the reason I like it and the clients like it, is this is a part-time venture. This auction, I'm just reaching for that brochure. This auction is only happening once a year. But there's 3,000 counties to choose from, so you can do this when you want to. For example, Los Angeles already had their auction. They won't have another one till September. So what are you going to do in between now and September? We're talking in June. And so you got months to prepare and get ready. So this is a part-time venture. Tax lien certificates, when they put those up, if I show you how many they have, a place like Tampa, Florida, will have 40,000 certificates. There's no way you could buy them all. 40,000. So they're always there. So this doesn't go away, and it's not just one time a year. So it's a part-time adventure.
So, let's say somebody's into doing flips, and they get excited about this idea. So they're probably thinking, well, why don't I just go buy, if I can buy properties for 10 cents on the dollar, why don't I just go buy a bunch of properties and flip them? Is it as easy as that? And if so, why isn't everybody doing it already?
All right. Again, they're not doing it because they don't know where all the auctions are. See, people are provincial, and they're going to think about, if they happen to live in Vancouver, they want to buy in Vancouver. Okay. I'm saying, let's break you out of the mold a little bit. How about buying a couple over in Seattle or go down to Yakima or something like that? All right. So people on the other side, over here in Ontario, well, come on down here to Dutchess County or come on down to Orange County in New York, and you can know everything you want to know because it's online. All right. So if you wanted to, you could get on the expressway and go down to Mississauga. How do I say that? Mississauga. I couldn't remember. I couldn't get it. So anyway, so just go down, and Buffalo, New York will have 700 properties this year. Buffalo. And that's 4 hours. 4 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do this any way you want. You just have to learn about it.
Makes sense. All right, Ted. So what are some of the bigger mistakes you see people making when they get started in the whole tax lien, tax deed business?
All right, the 90% of them have the same trouble. Everybody that's got gray hair is saved up a little bit, so they're okay. If they got a RRSP or they got an account that they've saved up, they're okay. But the people that make the big mistakes, they think they're going to buy every property for 5 cents on the dollar. Now, look, I'm buying in places like New York. I'm looking at a colonial house. You're a real estate guy, so you know what a nice-looking colonial, 4 acres of land, 100-year-old oak trees. I'm not getting those for 10 cents on the dollar. These are $500,000 houses. I'm going to have to spend 30 cents on the dollar to get that property. Okay, now we're talking about
sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if I buy that and put 50 grand into it, am I coming out good for the year?
Definitely. Yeah.
You get it. All right. So it's not a business you can just buy for 10 cents. But let me give you the opposite of that. I just have a guy that is a newspaper editor, skeptical guy. He bought a house in Georgia for $326.16. $326, I said. A rentable, livable house. He rents it out for $6,000 a year.
All right, but that's not the norm. That's the exception, correct?
Exactly. So don't think you're just going to get in for nothing down and all that crap. That's all BS. You need to get a little nest egg together. You need or get a couple of investors or whatever you want. I mean, do crowdfunding if you want. I don't care. Or like you do, you teach people get that bundle of money together and then you're ready to go. That's what kind of business it is.
So what's a good amount to have in mind to get started with this business realistically, like to make it worthwhile?
If you got 50 grand, you're going to really kick some butt and buy something that you get for 30 grand. So you got a little left over to take care of, whatever. Yeah. And try to do one that year. Try to do one. Then the next year, try to do another one. But don't just try to buy. I tell people, if the house is low price, don't buy it. Don't buy that low stuff. If it's in your neighborhood, like this guy found one in his neighborhood, that's okay. But it's not a junker business at all. It's not a junker business. Yeah.
Awesome, my friend. Time flies when we're having fun. That means we can come back and do this again sometime. But in the meantime, Ted, if people are interested in finding out more, do you have any resources, any freebies, anywhere we can point people? 2
places. If they like video, just go to tedthomas.com. And there'll be some free videos there. If they like to learn with their ears, then go to Ted Thomas Podcast. And I do a podcast like you do. I do that once a week and I always have some new information and some great guests. Awesome. Ted, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much, my friend. I really appreciate you sharing some of your wisdom with us. Great. I'm glad to be here and I look forward to seeing you again. All right, everybody, have a good week. And we will talk to you next time on the next episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. Take care. God bless. Well, thanks very much for checking out the Property Profits Podcast. If you like what we're doing here, please head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. Be very, very much appreciated. And if you're looking to create a regular flow of inbound investor inquiries about your real estate deals, then I invite you to attend one of my upcoming live online demonstrations. And you can check that out at investorattractiondemo.com. Take care.